You came back to me.
I always will.
Our bond is eternal.
You look so beautiful tonight.
The vast crystalline dome of the Xylorian Imperial Court shimmered like a living starfield above us, its facets refracting the violet glow of 1,000 hovering orbs that cast long, jagged shadows across the obsidian floor. Every breath I took tasted of ozone and alien incense, sharp, metallic, laced with the faint sweetness of nectar blooms that only grew in the Queen's private gardens. My wrists burned where the plasma cuffs bit into my skin, humming with a low, warning vibration that promised agony if I so much as flinched wrong. I stood alone in the center of the hall, boots planted on the etched mosaic that depicted the conquest of 100 worlds, and felt the weight of 10,000 eyes drilling into me. The court was a nightmare of elegance and menace. To my left, the chitin-armored nobles of House Vera clicked their mandibles in synchronized disapproval, their compound eyes glittering like black diamonds. On my right, the tentacled envoys from the Sephri collective swayed in slow, hypnotic waves, their suckers pulsing with barely contained rage. Behind them loomed the scaled warriors of the Draken clans, tails lashing the marble with soft, dangerous thuds. Not one of them had spoken a word against protocol, but the air itself crackled with their unspoken verdict: death for the human. For me. High on the dais, Queen Vespera sat motionless on her throne of living crystal. She was breathtaking in the way a supernova is breathtaking, beautiful, lethal, inevitable. Her 6-foot frame gleamed with iridescent scales that shifted from deepest indigo to molten gold under the lights. Four elegant arms rested along the throne's armrests, each tipped with obsidian claws that could slice through starship hulls. Her face, gods, her face. High cheekbones sharp enough to cut glass, full lips the color of fresh blood, and those eyes vast, multifaceted pools that reflected every secret I'd ever tried to hide. A crown of pulsing neural filaments crowned her brow, whispering the thoughts of her entire empire directly into her mind. She had not blinked once since the trial began. The Grand Minister's voice slithered through the hall like smoke. This creature, Captain Elias Kane of the Terran Federation, stands accused of sabotage, espionage, and the unforgivable crime of touching royal blood. He infiltrated the royal procession under the guise of a diplomat. He disabled the quantum shield during the assassination attempt on Her Majesty. And worst of all, the minister's mandibles snapped with theatrical fury. He dared to lay hands upon the Queen herself to drag her from the collapsing platform. A human. Defiling sacred flesh. A ripple of outrage swept the court. Claws scraped stone. Tentacles coiled tighter. I felt the collective hatred press against my ribs like a physical force. My heart hammered so hard I was sure they could hear it. Sweat trickled down my spine, soaking the torn remnants of my dress uniform. I'd known this moment was coming. 3 days ago I'd been a nobody shuttle pilot assigned to the diplomatic escort. Then the Draken separatists had struck energy lances carving through the royal barge like it was tissue paper. In the chaos I'd done the only thing I could, slammed my body between the Queen and the collapsing deck, hauled her through the flames with my bare hands, and taken a plasma bolt meant for her spine. My shoulder still screamed where the wound had been hastily sealed. But none of that mattered now. Not to them. I was an alien. A primitive. A contaminant. The minister raised a glowing datapad. The penalty is clear. Immediate disintegration in the void chamber. The court awaits Your Majesty's confirmation. Silence fell like a blade. Every eye swiveled toward the throne. My mouth went dry. This was it. I'd saved her life, and now I was going to die for it. I lifted my chin, refusing to let them see me tremble. If humanity was going out, we'd do it staring death in the face. Queen Vespera rose. The motion was so fluid it seemed the throne itself exhaled her. 6 feet of lethal grace descended the 7 crystal steps, each footfall ringing like a bell through the hall. The court held its breath. No one had ever seen her leave the dais during a trial. Her forearms swayed with predatory elegance, claws half extended. The neural crown pulsed faster, casting faint lightning across her scales. She stopped 3 paces away from me, close enough that I could smell the warm, spiced honey of her skin and hear the soft double thump of her twin hearts. I met her gaze. Those multifaceted eyes swallowed me whole, reflecting my fear, my defiance, and something else. Something raw and terrifying that I couldn't name. She spoke, voice low and velvet-edged, carrying effortlessly to every corner of the dome. Minister. You speak of defilement. Yet you forget one detail. The minister's mandibles froze mid-snap. The queen took one more step. Her tallest arms rose slowly, deliberately. The plasma cuffs around my wrists suddenly winked out with a soft chime, falling to the floor in smoking pieces. I didn't dare move. My lungs burned. You forget, she continued, each word a caress and a threat, that this human's hands did not merely touch royal blood. They shielded it. They burned for it. They chose my life over his own without hesitation. Her lower arms extended toward me. And in doing so, he reminded me of something my court has long forgotten. The hall was a pressure cooker. I could feel the nobles leaning forward, claws twitching, ready to protest. One wrong word and the entire court would erupt. My pulse thundered in my ears. What was she doing? This wasn't mercy. This was something far more dangerous. Queen Vespera closed the final distance. Her upper arms slid around my shoulders with shocking gentleness, while the lower pair wrapped around my waist, pulling me forward until my chest pressed flush against the warm, scaled armor of her torso. The embrace was absolute. Her body was fever-hot, radiating strength and something softer, something that made my knees threaten to buckle. I felt the rapid flutter of her twin hearts against my ribs, syncing with my own frantic rhythm. Her scent enveloped me. Honey and lightning and something ancient that spoke of starlit nights and lonely thrones. One clawed hand cradled the back of my head, guiding my face into the curve of her neck where her scales were softest, almost velvet. The other traced the line of my injured shoulder with feather-light precision, as if memorizing the scar she had caused me to bear. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. The entire court, every noble, every warrior, every tentacled diplomat watched in frozen horror. Mandibles hung open. Tentacles went limp. Tails stopped lashing. The only sound was the faint crackle of the hovering orbs and the soft, shared thunder of our heartbeats. No one dared speak. Queen Vespera lowered her head until her lips brushed the shell of my ear. Her voice was a private whisper meant only for me, yet it carried the weight of galaxies. You terrified me, Elias Kane. Not because you touched me, but because in that moment, when the flames closed in and your arms locked around me, I realized I never wanted you to let go. A human. A fragile, short-lived, impossible human, showed my empire what true loyalty looks like. You burned for me. Now I will burn for you. Her arms tightened, pulling me deeper into her embrace. I felt her tremble, just once, a tiny seismic shift only I could sense. Vulnerability from the most powerful being in the sector. My own arms, free now, rose instinctively and wrapped around her waist, fingers splaying across the cool warm scales of her back. I didn't care that 10,000 eyes witnessed it. I didn't care that this single act would rewrite every law, every treaty, every prejudice between our species. In that heartbeat, the court, the accusations, the looming void chamber, all of it vanished. There was only her. The alien queen who had just claimed me in front of her entire empire. And the silence stretched on, thick and electric, because no one dared to speak. Her neural crown brushed my temple, sending a gentle spark of shared memory, the moment she'd first seen me through the flames, the way my voice had cracked when I'd screamed her name, the way my blood had stained her royal robes. I felt her heart stutter, then steady. Mine followed. We stood locked together in the center of the hall, two heartbeats becoming one rhythm, while the greatest court in the galaxy watched in stunned, breathless awe. The future of two civilizations hung in the curve of her arms around my human frame. And still, no one dared to speak. 861 MS Expert.